Okay, everyone, welcome to our closing keynote session. I hope you have enjoyed our 10th annual Convergence so far, bringing together youth, young professionals, and beyond to share their success stories and how they've entered the field and just been able to connect with others. So I'm going to introduce Pooja, and the session is being recorded. And then also for folks, our co-host here, if you can help with questions in the chat and folks entering the waiting room, that'd be great. So I am pleased to welcome Pooja Tilvawala. Hopefully I said that right. You can definitely correct me. Her pronouns are she, her, hers. She is a climate justice community connector who was born in India but grew up in the US. At only 27 years old, she founded the Youth Climate Collaborative, YCC, a global community of young leaders and their allies collaborating to combat climate change in connection with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. She focuses on capacity building for youth, effective storytelling, intergenerational action, power sharing, and microfinance for youth-led action. Her purpose in life is to nurture her curiosity and creativity and encourage herself and others to challenge the status quo, and also unite people to improve the quality of life for all. Most recently, she was double nominated to serve as a youth advisor to the UN's Secretary General for Climate Change. The mission of Youth Climate Collaborative is to accelerate access for and strengthen retention of youth in the climate movement and to facilitate meaningful intergenerational power sharing. So, wow, Pooja, from sharing only this tiny fraction of information about you, I'm super excited to hear from you and what you're up to. I also look forward to Q&A at the end of the discussion. So folks, please write down and save your questions for the end. And without further ado, Pooja, take it away.
Thanks so much. Okay, you should be able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Looks good.
Good. Let me just make sure I can see your faces on this other screen. All right. So hello, everyone. That was a very long introduction. Thank you. So today I'm going to focus the talk on contributing to the climate movement and how you can get involved if you're not already involved, or how you can start your own initiative like I did, and kind of give an overview of the climate space right now. So yeah, the agenda, there's an introduction, background, then defining the challenge. So then we'll go into some challenges, then how to take your ideas to action, and then a list of sites that you can go to for funding and opportunities, and then a cool video that will allow us to pause and take a deep breath by my friend, and then Q&A at the end. All right, so introduction. So one of the key goals of the international climate movement is for our planet to not surpass a global temperature rise greater than 1.5 degrees Celsius. For that to happen, action is required at all levels, from global to individual. But how can individuals get started? How can they continue and scale their action efforts? We'll begin with an overview on climate change and later discuss action and project planning, challenges young people face in getting and remaining involved in the climate movement, solutions to that, and ways you can get involved. So a little bit of science background. Greenhouse gas concentrations are at their highest levels ever in 2 million years. 2 million years. So the Earth is now about 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than it was in the late 1800s. The last decade was the warmest on record. According to the UN, which is the United Nations, climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. Now, human activities are the main driver of climate change, primarily due to burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas. Climate-sensitive health risks are disproportionately felt by the most vulnerable and disadvantaged, including women, children, ethnic minorities, poor communities, migrants or displaced persons, older populations, and those with underlying health conditions. Limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius is essential to avoid the worst climate impacts and maintain a livable climate. Yet, based on current national climate plans, global warming is projected to reach around 3.2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. That's by 2100. The 100 least emitting countries generate only 3% of total emissions, and the 10 countries with the largest emissions, including the US, contribute 68%. Now, one great initiative by the UN is the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and it's been adopted by all the member states of the UN in 2015, and it provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and in the future. And at the core of this agenda are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which many of you have probably heard of and know at the back of your hand. These are an urgent call for action by all countries, developed and developing, in a global partnership. They recognize that ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests and livelihoods and more. Climate change is a collective action issue that requires all of us to work together. This is the last background slide. The UNFCCC entered into force in 1994, and 197 countries have ratified the convention. These are known as the parties to the convention. So COP, which is held each year to do negotiations on major climate change related issues, is known as the Conference of Parties, because the countries are referred to as parties, those that have ratified the convention. Now, to tackle climate change and its negative impacts, world leaders at the UN Climate Change Conference in Paris reached a breakthrough on December 12th, 2015, and this is known as the Paris Agreement, which sets long-term goals to guide all nations. And NDCs were also created, the nationally determined contributions. Yeah, it's a legally binding international treaty. And today, 193 parties have joined the Paris Agreement. All right. She already went through, like, this was going to be, why am I here talking? So I wanted to share a little bit about my story. So I got involved. The picture on the left is my first ever climate conference. It was in 2018 in California. It was the Global Climate Action Summit. And so I started learning more about climate change opportunities through UNA USA. That's the United Nations Association of the US. And they had this newsletter and this opportunity to go as a blogger fellow to this conference and just learn more about climate change while volunteering and while like sharing my thoughts afterwards in blogs. And I used money that I had saved up at my job from working and flew to SF and stayed there, and that changed my life, honestly. So while there, I really liked experiencing the intersection or learning about the intersections of climate change with so many topics, every topic under the sun, and seeing the energy and passion of the people in that space and seeing everybody there from around the world, around the US, and seeing organizations and governments in the US step up and say that we're still in, even though we had pulled out of the Paris Agreement at that time, was really inspiring. So then after that, it was my last semester at university, at American University in DC. And I just started researching like jobs, fellowships, opportunities, so I could continue being active with that passion afterwards. So then I started working at the Meridian Institute, and they actually have a fellowship out each year if you're graduating college and you want to check that out. It's at merid.org. And there it was, I got involved in like collaborative problem solving. So we would invite stakeholders that were working on the same topic. Let's say it was plastic waste. We would bring people who created plastic-based products like Coca-Cola, then waste collectors like from YOUNGO, and researchers from Five Gyres and others. We get them together to understand each other's perspectives and come to an agreement on how to move forward together on ending plastic waste, right? And plastic pollution. So did that for about 1.5 years, and that really taught me, how to be a good listener and first understand why even the people that we might be really mad at, who are making infuriating decisions that will harm us and the environment and those at the front lines, how to listen and see, why are they doing what they're doing? What reasons are they providing? And how can I get them to see and do otherwise? And so that was a really important, those were some really important skills to learn at the beginning, because it also taught me patience. Patience balanced with urgency, right? Because time is limited. So then in 2020, I started, just as I was getting to know more about the youth climate space, I started seeing different challenges that people were facing. So some of the challenges are financial need. So there were limited resources like unpaid jobs and internships, shorter term funding as opposed to few-year grants, especially for young people. And then there's emotional challenges like burnout, eco-anxiety, climate grief, having, needing to have bravery. And you all can share in the comments if you've ever, any challenges that you've also faced while working or trying to enter this space. Then there's difficulty in finding like-minded people, a community to do action with instead of doing it alone. Limited or no access to mentors to share opportunities with and guide young leaders on their journey. I was commenting to my friends, we had gone to this conference recently, and we asked each other, how many older folks came up to you, and said hi and tried to get to know what you're doing, as opposed to us always having to go to older people, right? So that's just one example. Then difficulty in finding a champion of youth to advocate for youth in various institutions. It's always nice to figure out, who's going to be our biggest cheerleader and support us and our needs with the initiatives that we're trying to implement. And then limited network and or networking opportunities depending on your access to resources, finances, travel. And then not knowing how to get started or how to learn about how to get started. I was super proactive in that I just kept doing Google searches and just trying to find out what was near me until I kind of found my way. These are just some other challenges, like a lack of youth seats and voices at decision-making tables, super important. If you see a board or an advisory council that you're interested in joining, and you don't see other young people on there, for example, and you think there should be more intergenerational decision-making, just reach out, see if they'll let you join. Then low diversity in mainstream narratives. We're starting to see more projects pop up. There's one example, Illuminative. So that one has podcasts and other initiatives to amplify Indigenous narratives by Indigenous people. So a lot of misconceptions aren't going around by their communities, or about their communities, sorry. Then, equating of less experience as incapability or doubting skills because of our age, low diversity in the field, especially leadership positions, then a lack of opportunities to gain relevant knowledge and skills. But this is a perfect example of an opportunity to gain that knowledge, right? Here we are on our Saturday, learning about zero waste and ways to get involved. So thank you to the Zero Waste Convergence community for that. Then, missed opportunities for highlighting green job pathways. I know educators are very limited in their capacity and time. They're really stretched for it. But getting like school systems to encourage showing like the green job opportunities or how any job can be a green job, along with the curriculum would be great. And then seeing that climate change is always listed as a problem for future generations, it's a problem now. And then, practical problems like internet access and all of that. So that's a long list of problems, but, don't be stuck with despair. There's a lot of hope in this space as well. And a lot of young people like you here on this call today are really trying your best and, to turn that hope into action and spur more action with what you do. So you should give yourselves a round of applause for that. Now these are just a summary of the steps that are in this guide, putting it all together from ideas to action. And I'll let you, I can click it, yay. Okay, so basically you can go through this guide on your own time, but it was by the Aspen Institute. Shout out to them. They have an amazing Future Leaders Climate Summit every year. And this will help you turn your ideas into action. If you have an idea right now and you want to learn how do I actually start implementing this, you can kind of follow these steps. Skip what you think is not relevant to you, but this will help you really think through how you can make it happen and if you have everything you need to make it happen. So please do take a look at that. Then let me see how I can go back to the presentation. Okay. And then this resource here, okay. I have like that little zoom bar at the top, so it's like hard to click. Okay. So this resource here, if you've heard of the SMART goals, strategic, measurable, ambitious, realistic, time-bound, this also has inclusive and equitable, which are huge components as you're planning out, the goals to how you will achieve your vision or make your idea into reality. So do check out these two resources. And then, okay, let's see. Solution sites. Okay, so this one, I'll add to this, but this is just a kind of a beginning list, which honestly has a lot already. So I think it's enough for now, but these are just opportunity sites. So some of these have grants. I should actually put this one down here, but yeah, so you have like a list of some grants to get started with, and these opportunity sites, which include grants and joining incubators or accelerators or One Young World is like a conference that it's going to be in Manchester this year, and there's a tab for scholarships you can apply to. So definitely just check these out and you'll get a bunch of resources of all sorts to take action, whether it's attending a conference, whether it's finding funding for your project, whether it's joining an advisory board or an incubator. Check it out. Okay. Almost done. 1 second. All right. And I would say my advice for like kind of managing the applications is make sure like I keep a Google Doc of all the deadlines and then I put them in my Google Calendar. so I don't forget. Sometimes I end up still forgetting, even though I'll get a reminder just because of all the things there are to do. But that's just some advice for managing priorities and staying organized. Now, I guess everyone, let's just take a second to take a deep breath, as my friend would say. So everyone inhale. And slowly exhale. And let's do that one more time. Inhale. Exhale. So, as my friend would say, every other breath comes from our beautiful, beautiful ocean. So we should always remember to thank our ocean for that breath. Now, if you click this link, I'm going to share this presentation with Bonnie to share out with all of you. But if you click this link on the right, it'll lead you to this webinar that he wanted me to share. And the webinar is about a toolkit for ocean and human health for youth. And this video, I don't know what happened to the screen right here, but let me, give me 1 second. Let me figure this out.
Hey folks, and if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And we also have that Jamboard, and I will be sure to share these resources out. So thank you.
Yeah, and I am just finding this fantastic video. And I got it. I'm going to reshare my screen. Whoopsies. Okay. Let me know if you can hear it properly. Can you hear it?
No, did you share your sound as well?
No. Let me try that again. And it might be because I have this mic as the input. Let me.
Sure, no worries.
Okay, let's see. Share, advanced sharing. Okay.
So when you
go right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
The health of our Mother Earth is directly
linked.
Okay,
let me restart it. Okay.
Climate health is directly linked to human health. The health of our Mother Earth is directly linked to the health of ourselves and our communities. With the WILLOW project being approved, this takes a large toll on our health. Like many others, Indigenous leaders, people fighting for protection of nature, I feel this pain, this deep ecological connection and sensitivity. When Mother Ocean, when Mother Nature hurts, I also hurt. It's more spiritual than what we want to believe, and it's more connected to all of our lives. The climate crisis is an opportunity to center hope, justice, and love in everything that we do. In the community-led, Indigenous-led, BIPOC, and sovereign solutions we bring to the forefront, in mobilizing industry, economy, and society to work towards a bluer, greener future. The climate crisis can be a rallying cry for hope, for joy, and for connection. We have a unique opportunity to rekindle a symbiotic relationship with land and water, with the cosmos. The same water that flows in our universe, in our Mother Ocean, in our Mother Planet, flows throughout ourselves. We were birthed out of our own mini ocean. With the WILLOW project being approved, we must know that we can't lose hope. We have to keep that joy, that power, and that collective community we're building for climate action intact. We have to rally and use this as more fuel to our inner flame to rise above systems of oppression and injustice, and to create and envision a future that prioritizes human rights, environmental rights, and this symbiotic relationship between the worlds we're bridging. As young people and Gen Z, we have a unique opportunity to do this, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to step up and shine our inner lights bright. We all have the unique power and skill set that's needed to take action to protect our oceans and our planet. The question is, how will you unlock that and tap in?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, there you go. And I'm gonna share the link to, oh, I did have one more slide. Whoops. Okay. And I think Bodhi, the creator of that video, has joined as well. Okay, so this was the last slide. Present. This is, if you have any questions and want to reach out after this, if you scan this QR code, that'll take you to my LinkedIn and you can just message me on there. Otherwise, that's my Instagram and that's my organization's Instagram. So definitely follow and reach out if you have any questions. And is there time for questions now? Yeah, okay.
Yes. Wow, that was great presentation, and I really appreciate the resources that you'll share out to all of us. That's awesome, and the video was definitely inspiring and very well made. So great skills, Bodhi. Yeah, so let's open it up for questions. I know I can start off with one. As per what I mentioned about you earlier, focusing on effective storytelling and intergenerational action and power sharing and microfinance for youth-led action, I'm curious what the Youth Climate Collaborative is doing specifically right now to address some of those challenges that you mentioned earlier in your presentation.
Yeah, for sure. And here's the link to the presentation. So at Youth Climate Collaborative, we have a couple of different initiatives. One of them is our Climate Courage program. That one, we lead monthly workshops that help young people have a safe space to share their feelings about climate change or caused by climate change, and have a community to exchange strategies for coping with those feelings. And we're working on journals as well for that, which we hope to have done in some months, because we're going to try to work with artists to design it. And then we've got this eco action map. Actually, I can show that to y'all. Whoops. Because this is more of a visual. So for this eco action map, if you click the top here, it's kind of like Yelp for the environment. So you can zoom in to where you live. We haven't really promoted it, to be honest, even though I made this in 2021, but haven't really promoted it yet. You can zoom into where you live. I'm from the Philadelphia area, so that's why that area has a little bit more. And you can click on an organization. Then you'll see any events, jobs, funding, other opportunities they have. You know, a link to their website. You can bookmark them. So when you make a free account, you can have them saved, and you'll get a little description, and you can also reach out to them via direct message, or the other ways that they have to contact them. And so what this map does is help you learn what initiatives, entities exist near you, so you can get a start in how to get involved. And then our other get involved thing has like events, work, funding, but right now, because we haven't, advertised it yet, there isn't anything yet, but there will be. And actually Zero Waste can create a free account and start adding opportunities as well. And then, we have our Climate Courage program, which is like for the workshops. Then Dare to Envision, it's coming soon. We've got a podcast, hence this equipment. I interviewed 50 young people last year, and I'm like editing those episodes. And it's young people from around the world who have dared to envision a better life for themselves, their families, their communities, despite their circumstances growing up. And it's really to help people imagine better futures than, what life may seem like it's leading to right now. And actually Grist has an opportunity right now. It's called like the 2200 project, I think. And you can submit your stories or blogs of how you envision the world being in 2200. And if you get chosen, they'll share it, on their page. They're very well-known, like grassroots, frontline community advocating, publisher of, stories and more. Then we've got this, it's really Youth on Boards initiative, where we're doing research right now to learn the best practices for bringing young people on boards and people of color on boards, and in leadership roles. And then we do, we have a bunch of like WhatsApp groups and stuff for resource sharing. And then doing monthly meetings within the youth climate movement, to share updates and asks of like if you need help with something and somebody else can help. And then doing some consultations to give input of what youth want to see happen at some of these bigger conferences like COP28 or the UN Ambition Summit coming up. So those are some of the things we're doing. And then with Rivet, I'm actually on the assembly team, where even as like a young person, we have without our signature and sign off, Rivet cannot agree to a partnership with a brand or an organization. So what we're trying to do at Rivet, though, is create the world's largest micro grant fund for young people, so that they have a trustworthy, like unrestricted source of money to implement their ideas. And then we want to create a plan for some longer term funding as well, since that's harder to find for young people. There's some other things I do, but I think I'll stop there.
Amazing. Okay. Does anyone have question in the chat? I could definitely ask another one. And then we will need to close up here in the next 5 minutes. So in the next 5 minutes, we can definitely do our send off. But I really like, Pooja, that you're focusing on retention building for the youth, and it really looks like you're trying to like meet them where they're at, while also working with the challenges that we're all, like, the youth are facing. And if it was around the question being like around retention and the young people that you've interviewed in the past year, is there any like trends that you could mention with what the youth are saying, the youth that you have interviewed to help with these challenges for the future?
Yeah, so I think with funding, I mentioned having more unrestricted funds. So currently how funding works, there's a bunch of micro grants that'll be for like $250, $500, $1,000, up to like $5,000 maybe. But once it starts getting to some of the larger sums, there's a lot of grant requirements, reporting requirements, and unfortunately, like distrust on, can we trust the young people to spend it wisely? Even though you'll see people spending companies' money on lavish stays or dinners and stuff, right? So it's kind of funny, but so we're asking for more unrestricted funds of larger sums, and also just more trust for decision making. So include us in your executive team meetings, or include us in the board meetings, give us a seat at the board table, at the advisory council table, and in a meaningful way, and make sure we have the correct, like the proper onboarding, so that if it's our first time, we know what we're getting ourselves into and what all the different opportunities are that we may not be aware of. And then what else? Let's see, making sure that we're centering the narratives of frontline communities with the frontline communities themselves. And if we're doing like land acknowledgements and stuff, making sure like, why don't we have somebody from the land that we're on actually here and give them the space to say what they want to say, before we get started, instead of just doing like a land acknowledgement. I was just talking to my one friend about that. Those are just some top of mind suggestions.
Totally. It sounds like that trust, that inclusivity, and also money really helps, because we live in a very expensive world now, and money is a great motivator, and young people, they also need money, and so I really like the micro grants and the funding opportunities for youth to really like build their ideas. So all right, I think we're good to switch gears to our closing send-off. And thank you so much, Pooja, for your talk today. Super inspiring and really helpful with these resources. So much appreciated. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Let's switch gears. If folks want to like turn on their camera, and we can just shout out maybe in the chat anything that is like inspired you today, and like thinking back, like anything that you learned for the first time. Yes. 1 second. Sorry, my computer is being a little wonky right now. Okay. Is Pooja still spotlit?
No, we're good to go.
Okay, cool. We will thank you everyone for attending the 10th annual Zero Waste Youth Convergence. We got to talk about a lot of really amazing things, meet some super cool people. And as you know, like zero waste is still alive and well, and looking at systems change instead of like a reactionary, hey, like wish cycling, like we hope you put it in the recycling bin. Like, no, like we're really trying to like change society and in a like a more progressive direction to be upstream, not downstream. So thank you everyone for putting your thoughts in the chat. Feel free, anyone want to unmute and say some closing words. I know this has been a team effort putting this together. We've been going at this since October, so I really appreciate y'all being here today and giving your time.
Yeah, great job, everyone. Volunteers, planning committee, and speakers. Really appreciate everybody participating. If you enjoyed today's Convergence, we encourage you to check out our next event, which is next week, Saturday. Bonnie, do you want to mention a few details?
Yes, so we're having a day of action in downtown San Francisco at the San Francisco Environment Department building, right above Civic Center BART. So it's pretty BART friendly if you're in the Bay Area. It's from 11 a.m. to around 2:30 p.m. And we're going to do hands-on skill building workshops and refashioning workshop. We're going to have amazing food as well. Would love for you to come out. It's going to be a smaller gathering given the capacity of the building, and going to network, learn some cool skills. So it's free to join, and we'll put that also in the chat. Thank you, Freddie. All right, everyone. Well, I look forward to following up with y'all post-Convergence with the information. We're going to send out a newsletter, and you'll hear more from us. And we have the Jamboard, so we can all stay connected. And thank you so much.
All right, thank you.